In our last video, part 1 of this series, we saw that the Fletcher Dream points to the rapture happening in 2026 while Israel is still 77 years old, so by or before April 22 this year. In this video, we are going to see how the Fletcher Dream specifically and consistently points to Nisan 16 through 17 this year. So let's get to it. Note that my explanations here will be based on the assumption that you already watched part 1 of this series. Okay, so here we have a slide I presented in the last video, but we need to review this. The phrases a sky sign, a cloud sign, and dream in dream each have the simple Gematria value 105, which is the sum of the numbers in my one and only waking vision, which I've always known has to do with when the rapture will happen. What I did not present in the last video is that the phrase dream of dream, synonymous with dream in dream, has the simple Gematria value of 103, another number which seems very personally significant to me as it looks just like my date of birth, January 3rd, in US date format. As it happens, exactly 105 days after the date 103, January 3, is April 18, 2026, which happens to be Nisan 17 as biblically reckoned, that is, on a month commenced by the full moon. If we break up this 105 days following my birthday into 69 days plus 36 days with respect to the numbers in my 6936 vision, we happen upon another very significant date to me, March 13, which will be the anniversary of the very day the Lord first told me to seek to marry Astrid. Please notice that I've been highlighting April 18 as highest watch since early February this year. So the Fletcher Dream is not providing any new watch date here, it is simply confirming a highest priority watch date we were already very impressed with for other reasons. Since on April 22, which is IR5 this year, Israel turns 78 years old, April 18 very much appears to be the very last high watch date we are going to see while Israel is still 77 years old. Now I believe there is something else of great significance to notice about 105 and 103 in relation to Nisan 16 through 17 as biblically reckoned. The date 105, January 5, is the exact center of a period of 103 plus 103 days spanning between the center of the September 23 through 24 high watch, when the rapture process began, and the April 17 through 18 high watch. Isn't that just incredible? And to think, these numbers, 103 and 105, were already incredibly significant to me personally, even before the Fletcher Dream underscored them. And of course, we saw the sum of 103 and 103 in the last video. The phrase written in clouds has a simple Gematria value of 206, and in Strong's Greek, 206 is the word that means the end and the furthest extent. This appears to say that 206 days after the beginning of the rapture process, on September 23 through 24, is the end, the furthest extent of the rapture process, on April 17 through 18, which is Nisan 16 through 17 as biblically reckoned, on a month commenced by the full moon. Now here is something else related to the Fletcher Dream I see pointing to the same date. As it happened, I took a break from talking about watch dates on YouTube for the last half of January this year. When I did that, I did not know for sure if or when the Lord would tell me to get back into this. Then, on February 1, the Lord made it clear to me that the time had come to begin telling YouTube about what I've called the April watch season. I began work on this mission project immediately. Therefore, the 77th day of the mission will be April 18. Note that while the simple Gematria value of Fletcher is 77, the Hebrew Gematria value of the same word is 227. And the Strong's Hebrew 227 is the word that means at that time, while the Greek 227 means true. Very exciting, wouldn't you say? And it gets even better. Astrid, who is currently 39 years old, received the Fletcher Dream a few days ago on March 9, that is 3-9 in US date format. And exactly 39 days later is, you guessed it, April 18. But recall that we are not only watching April 18. We are watching Nisan 16 through 17, which is April 16 at sundown until April 18 at sundown. So the fact that the phrase Fletcher in clouds has a simple gematria value that looks just like the date April 17 in European date format is further confirmation. Recall that the Fletcher Dream ended with the odd detail that Astrid could not find my number in her phone contacts list. The phrase, I could not find Devin in my contacts list, has a simple gematria value of 416, which looks just like the US date format April 16, the Gregorian date on which our last high watch, while Israel is still 77 years old, begins. Even Stephen Fletcher agrees, at least his name does. 164 looks just like the European date format April 16. But don't get me wrong, I do see April 3 through 4 as high watch, since this is Nisan 16 through 17 as commonly reckoned. And as I've said before, I also see April 11 through 12 as high watch. I think this is a major divinely positioned step toward the rapture as well. Yet I actually do not expect to be raptured until the biblically reckoned Nisan 16 through 17, which ends on April 18. Having said this, I think it most appropriate to conclude this video with a clip explaining why the biblically reckoned month begins with the full moon. If we're looking for the rapture, we should probably understand how the Bible reckons a month, right? And of course there's two options. Either the lunar conjunction, the dark phase of the moon, begins the month, or the full moon is the beginning of the month. And in either case, the biblical term new moon would refer either to the full moon or to the lunar conjunction, depending on what we decide. And it turns out that the Bible answers this question very clearly in Psalm 81:3, multiple versions basically say the same thing. Blow the trumpet at the time of the new moon, at the full moon, on our solemn feast day. So this is clearly one day on which you're going to blow the trumpet, and it's called both the new moon and the full moon. So that was New King James Version. ESV says blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. RSV says blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. So new moon is full moon, according to the Bible. And of course, the Bible says some things that seem to say what they don't actually mean. I get that. But we're going to look at Genesis 1, and you're going to see this again. So Genesis 1 confirms what the Bible plainly says. And on the other hand, if you're looking for a verse that says that the dark phase of the moon begins the month, there's no comparable verse that says that anywhere. Okay, so let's get to the main biblical proof that the month begins with the full moon, and that would be found in Genesis 1. There we see what God created the moon to do. He created the moon for a purpose, and that purpose was to, number one, give light on the earth, and number two, to rule the night. So, where, in relation to the sun and the earth, do you think God created the moon? He created it on the night side of the earth, when full sunlight would be illuminating the earth-facing side of the moon. He did not create the moon on the day side such that the moon would be dark, because the moon was created to give light on the earth and to rule the night. So it should be very clear that the original new moon, when God originally created it, which began the very first month, was full. And so God's perspective on what is the beginning of a month, it's a full moon.